Hine matov umanayim sheverachim gam yachad. 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 How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
To be together on this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
To be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim sheverachim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim sheverachim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm glad to be here with Celia Hollander-Lewis, and as my musical accompaniment for today, I'm so glad to be able to lead services with you, as I am each time we're together. I am Rabbi Josh Caruso here at Anshe Chesed Fairmount Temple. Wonderful to be together. I want to acknowledge all those who are joining us by stream. So I want to wave to you, hello. Great that you can celebrate Shabbat with us together. Wanted to take this time and let you know, I know we have some guests, particularly those from a couple of congregations who are part of our interfaith group against hate. And we are glad to have congregations representing a few of the 5 congregations that are part of this consortium. Of course, that includes Fairmount Temple, Fairmount Presbyterian Church, Chagrin Valley Islamic Center, Olivet Institutional Baptist Church, and St. Dominic's Catholic Church. We're so happy. We have a few folks from St. Dominic's and from Fairmount Presbyterian. It's so great to have you with us. We spent a little time together talking about Judaism and Passover just before services, so it was great to spend that time with you. We are going to be following this Siddur, this prayer book, which reads from right to left. So don't be surprised, it's not published wrong, but it does read from right to left. And we're inviting everyone who's here tonight to join us in song and in spoken word as you wish. As we acknowledge tonight's Shabbat, we also want to acknowledge our connection to one another. So we want to take this time and allow you just a few moments to greet the people behind you, in front of you, next to you. Wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Fantastic. We are going to continue now with Dodi Lee, a Jewish love song, maybe the first Jewish love song that celebrates a wonderful blessing of partnership, of friendship, of love. Yeah.
Sweet. Dodi Lee, Bani.
Shoshanim Dodi Li
Mizot Olam Mihamidbar Mizot Olam Midbar
Lo Mishalo Dodi Li continue now with our candle blessing as we officially usher in the Sabbath day.
Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Take a deep breath. Welcome in the Sabbath day. We continue now with Shalom Aleichem as we welcome our worshipers, welcome our guests. Page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Zeitchem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch. Page 27. Lamdeni Elohai. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. We invite you now, as you are able, to rise at your seats for Baruch Hu, our call to worship.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach
Le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yadadai, yadai, yadadai, yadai, yadadai, yadai, yadadai, yadai, yadadai, yadai, yadadai, yadai, yadadai, yadai. Continue on 33 on the top of the page. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me, did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We continue Shema Yisrael, page 34.
Shema Yisrael,
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. We continue on page 36 with V'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, vidibarta bam, beshivtecha, bevetecha, uvlechtecha, vaderech, ushochbecha, uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beinenecha, Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeruhu vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem meretz Mitzrayim Lehiot lachem lelohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, emet. Continue on page 40 with Micha Mocha. This is our song of freedom as we moved from the perilous waters of the Red Sea to freedom on the other side of dry land. Moses and Miriam sang this song. Mi kamocha neder b'kodesh nora tehilot osef ele nora tehilot osef okay Zeilianu ve'amru Adonai imloch leolam vaed. Adonai imloch leolam vaed. Ba'elim Adonai mikamocha neder b'kodesh nora tehilot osef ele nora tehilot osef ele.
And the women dancing with
The timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who was exalted.
Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. Miriam raised her voice in song and sang,
dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song, the one who we've exalted.
Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long.
342. Want to do another verse? Let's do a verse.
I was going to go back to the Yila Lies.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, we there. I'm going to do it. Here we go. As Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the seas, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. Here we go. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night. Let's do the last verse. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. And the
We're never done.
It's a song that never ends. All right, it's Passover. We just have to do it. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Next time I'll get you all, we'll just dance. I'll get you all. Timbrels. People are sitting there thinking, he'll never get me up to dance. That'll never happen. That'll never happen. All right, we're going to continue on with Hashkivenu. You know it's true, Ben. Okay, so we're going to, page 42. Hashkivenu, we're asking God to comfort us and shelter us during our times of vulnerability, which we believe we're certainly in one of those times for us as Jews in the world, time of vulnerability. Hashkivenu is almost like a bedtime lullaby in many ways for us as Jews, as we ask God to comfort us and shelter us as we go to sleep, hopefully not right here at the middle of the service, but when we're home, and we can wake up once again with our soul restored to us. 42, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu
Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, ve'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Page 47. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. We continue now with our Amidah, our Tefillah. We invite you to rise once again as you're able. We're going to move from page 46 through page 52.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Bimotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Hasteavot V'Imahot U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem L'Ma'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Loshia Morid Hatal Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gevurot Umidom Elach Melech Meimit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman Atan L'chayot Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh V'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yalalu Chasela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated. Take a moment of quiet reflection, silent prayer. We all come to this moment with different things going through our mind. We're carrying burdens and pains and hopefully some joys into this Shabbat. Whatever you're carrying with you, take a moment, acknowledge it, recognize it, count those blessings, try to let go of the hurts. Pause for a few moments. shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol We now turn to Tefillat Mishaberach, our prayer for healing. You can turn to page 253 and you'll find it there. It's this time in the service when we recognize those in our community who are in need of healing. So we have names that I will share with you, and then I will invite you to share a name of someone you're thinking of at this time who is in need of healing as well. We're thinking about Sasha Aber and Eliana Amram, Kristen Barnes and Lauren Berg, Ruth Berger, Leonard Bernstein, Joshua Brookstein, Bennett Cohen, Priscilla Dan, Ella Dubrow, Michael Feldman, Elliot Franklin, Mary Freeman, David Goldfein, Randy Goldheimer, Alan Granis, Nancy Granis, Anna Greenfield, Adrian Greenwald, Kara Greenwald, Dr. Richard Harlan, Stephen Heller, Margie Hodis, Karen Hoykowitz, Liam Jacobs, Emma Jacobson, Linda Kahn, Antoinette Karpinski, Amy Kinslinger, Patricia Kipstool, Sheldon Claffin, Ellen Kleinerman, Marla Lakin, Lucas Leon, Helen Levine, Robert Levine, Kennedy Linston, Suzanne Luria, Jim McAvina, John Masha, our Rabbi Robert A. Nosenchuk, Carol Plank, Gail Ray, Rich Resnick, Lauren Retting, Alla Rogue, Charles Chuck Ross, David Schlein, Stephen Schlein, Shelley Schloss, Linda Schneiderman, Dana Weiss-Schultz, Alan Schwartz, Steve Shacknow, Gail Shapiro, Linda Seigan, Ronnie Simkoff, Estelle Slutsky, Barbara Steinfurst, Angel Wissner, Richard Wilson, Manuel Wolf, Isabel Wolf, Norman Zach, Eliza Bat Yitzhak, Chaim HaKohen, Vizelda Jenny, Aaron Yaakov Ben Pesach, Chaim Ben Chana, Chana Bat Meir Vechava, Ilana Ora Bat Avraham, Miro Bat Yekutiel Verochel, Mordechai Ben Henya, Noam Raphael Ben Tali, Yochanan Ben Shira, Yisraela, and Yeta Sarah Bat Gittelchana. We invite you now to add a name as you wish. If you're on Facebook or online, you can put the name in the comments, or you just share that name on your own. As I move my hand through the congregation, I invite you to share a name. This time we also think about those who are in need of healing, whose feelings, their maladies may not be easily seen to the human eye, but they're certainly felt to those who suffer from addiction and depression and anxiety. We hold on to them as well. And if you yourself are here and you're feeling like you're in need of healing, we want to hold you close as well. Page 253, Misha Berach. Shebera Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Prayers of healing to blessings of joy. We want to take this moment and acknowledge those in our community who are celebrating milestone birthdays, anniversaries, milestone anything. So we want to, I have Bridget and Stephen Lichtig on my list, and I know you're not here, but maybe you're watching. So if you're online, on streaming right now, Bridget and Stephen, I know I've known you for so long. This is so exciting. That you're celebrating a milestone anniversary. Wish you mazel from your Fairmount Temple community. Emily, what do you got?
My sister's birthday today.
Hey! Mazel tov, Irene. How many years? What is it? What is it? What's the age? 34. Okay, we'll take it. We'll take it. Any other milestones we're experiencing? Anybody celebrating a milestone? I want to acknowledge that I got to meet little Julian again for a second time, who is our congregant and staff person, our Caring Community Coordinator's grandson, Wendy Jacobson's grandson. Julian is not in the room right now. I don't mind the sounds. It's so, so sweet. So it was good to see Julian. It looks very different now from the time when we first saw each other. Hey, Julian. Everybody wave to Julian right there. Okay, those on streaming are really jealous because they can't see him. But any event. Oh, look at that big smile. So great. Well, Julian is a hipster, lives in Brooklyn, and so doesn't always make it out to these parts. So it's great to have Julian. Oh yeah, and his mom Sarah here too. That's pretty cool too. Bless you. All right. So Mazel Tov. We want to take this moment and acknowledge that with Shehechianu, a special prayer acknowledging this special moment.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. Blessed are you, God, sovereign of the universe. You give us life. You lift us up. You bring us to these extraordinary moments, and we say together, Amen. Amen. Okay. Shabbat Shalom again. What a treat it is to be together and to be able to have some beautiful light outside. It's getting later. It feels like, these are precious days for us Clevelanders. When it's not dark outside and gloomy, we really have to celebrate these special days. So great to be together. I was away last week, returning from a civil rights historic trip down south. Cantor Sager and I led a group of 25 congregants from Fairmount Temple and Tifereth Israel, actually, to Atlanta, and then on to Birmingham, Selma, and Montgomery, Alabama. It was quite a trip. The centerpiece of it was the Legacy Museum, part of Brian Stevenson's Equal Justice Initiative, which is based in Montgomery, Alabama. For those of you wondering why this museum complex is in Montgomery, Alabama, a place that not many people go to visit, Montgomery was really ground zero for the slave trade. And so, and it was Stevenson's vision to put this place on the map and to actually stand on the soil of this time, of this not proud time in America's history. So there were many different pieces to the Equal Justice Initiative complex, and maybe in a sermon for another day I will share more about it because it's a lot to unpack. If you haven't been, it is surely worthwhile. The first exhibit in the Legacy Museum is a simple video screen of a great ocean, the waters of which evoke the Middle Passage, the sea journey undertaken by slave ships from West Africa to the West Indies. The giant screen is meant to take the museum's visitor along the perilous journey of the enslaved. Some 2 million enslaved Africans never even made it to our shores, dying along the voyage. 2 million. That's about a third of those who rode on those boats. Moving from that big screen, the visitor is then shepherded through an installation that takes you to the bottom of the sea, replete with replica skeletons of the dead who never made it to dry land. The sobering installation is not something I will soon forget. I thought of the Torah's Exodus story, our people's master Jewish story, and how different that journey was. Escaping our own enslavement, not a forced migration at all, but a voluntary immigration. Thought about our enslavement by a pharaoh from thousands of years ago, and the story upon which the Feast of Passover is based. "Let my people go," was the refrain that our leader Moses exclaimed in God's name to the Pharaoh. "Shlach lach et ami," let my people go. After God meted out 10 plagues, the Hebrews fled Pharaoh and his formidable army. The journey to the Promised Land took us through the waters of the Sea of Reeds. God famously split the sea in two, and we crossed over into dry land. Free people, but not before the waters drowned the Egyptians in their chariots. There is a famous midrash, a Jewish parable that is instructive to this very moment. When the Egyptians are drowning and we are free, it's an interesting moment of pain and exaltation. Our sages taught the very hour that the Egyptians were drowning, the angels wanted to sing before the Holy Blessed One. God said to them, "My children are drowning in the sea, yet you would sing in my presence?" In a remarkable rebuke, God interrupts this time of joy to remind even the angels of this grave moment. This very teaching is emphasized by the editors of Mishkan HaSeder, the Reform Movement's Haggadah, from which we read on Seder night. The Haggadah reads, "As the heirs of slaves redeemed from Egypt's violence, we rejoice at the sight of oppression overcome. Yet our triumph is diminished by the slaughter of the foe. Therefore, we take 10 drops from the wine within our cups, and with our finger we dip in and count 1 drop for each plague God brought upon Egypt. For everyone who observed a Seder, we know this part very well. Dam, blood, tzfardea, frogs, and so on and so on. By taking from the wine in the cup and placing it onto a plate. We cannot enjoy that drip of wine. It is our way of lessening our joy, even at a time that would merit it. Even in joy, we leave room in our hearts for others. It is a sentiment of hope that hate can be mitigated by more love. What others may interpret as naivete, we believe, we hope in the potential for change. At a time of fraught divisions, we leave a space for the misunderstood, the put upon, the other, the stranger, even, dare I say, even the enemy. It is this moment of our Seder that stands in stark relief to the growing campus protests across the nation. How do we use this lesson when we think about these protests? How do we use it when we think about those who are suffering? How do we think about it when we expect that generosity of spirit, that care and that love from others? What began ostensibly as a pro-Palestinian protest has evolved into ugly Zionist shaming, turning college students against one another, and has college administrations debating the lines between freedom of speech and the incitement of violence. College protest is nothing new. In fact, it is a hallmark of an open and free society. I am proud to live in a country that allows for a voicing of views, even if those views are not always shared by me or my people. Peaceful protest aimed towards criticism of the State of Israel's governmental policies towards Palestinians is legitimate. Criticism about the excessive deaths of innocents in Gaza, that is legitimate too. Even support for boycott, divestment, and sanctions, a movement with which I disagree vehemently, is a legitimate form of protest in my book. You do what is in your conscience. You speak your truth, and you do so peacefully. However, protests on the campuses of Columbia, Yale, NYU, USC, University of Texas, and on, even at Case Western Reserve University, have developed into a demonization of all of Israel, the majority of whose citizens do not even support every policy of the current government. Alarmingly, these protests have resulted in statements that have inspired fear in the hearts of American Jewish students, including graduates of our temple's own religious school. I want to allow for a little perspective here. The students on college campuses are doing what students do, speaking from their hearts, advocating for human rights, and Jewish students are among them. In fact, a group of Jewish students conducted a Passover Seder at the Columbia Gaza encampment. These young adults are growing their views on the world, and many are getting swept up in the fevered moment of a global divide. Do you remember when you were in college? I remember. I remember not always thinking through how I was speaking, what I was saying, and what the consequences were of my actions. But peaceful protest to the war in Israel and Gaza has given way to calls for a global intifada, an uprising in the form of violent terrorism, the banishing of Zionists on campus. It is a practice at the Columbia protest site to publicly call out Israel supporters by stating, "A Zionist has entered the camp." The steady refrain we hear from the river to the sea, an assertion that suggests the expulsion of Israeli Jews, and the dismissive call for Jews to go back to Poland, a curious declaration when a strong minority of Polish Jews when a small minority of Polish Jews actually settled in Israel. Most came here to the United States. All of these statements and ideologies point towards support of armed struggle. Further, one of the student leaders at Columbia declared that Zionists don't deserve to live. Yesterday, after facing public pressure, that student retracted the statement. And in a Resistance 101 Zoom presentation, a student leader shared that there is nothing wrong with being a fighter in Hamas. Hamas has explicitly stated their intent to perpetrate more attacks on Israelis like October 7th, assaults that resulted in rape, beheadings, kidnappings. By demonizing Zionists on campus, student protesters are demonizing the many Jews on campus born long after 1948 who view Israel as their homeland, a place representative of Jewish survival. Here in America, we know all too well the dangers of associating every American with the morally bankrupt policies of a certain president or congressional leader. The same should apply to the citizens of Israel and Jews in our country. What I'd really like to hear from these protesters is a rejection of Hamas's actions, solidarity against Iran violently attacking Israel, and a renewed conversation about a two-state solution. So I return to the parable. It feels like the angels are singing with delight over the demonization of Jews, ignoring the divine call for restraint and understanding. They're just singing in joy at the vulnerability of the Jews in this moment, the castigation of them, not even paying attention to God's message that everybody is made in the divine image. We have reached a fever pitch moment, and irresponsible protesters are adding fuel to the fire. The term Zionism has been appropriated by individuals who wish to demonize the collective nation-state of Israel as hell-bent on eradicating Palestinian lives as a strategy of genocide and colonialism. But friends, to the overwhelming majority of Jews in the world, including those who live in Israel, the state of Israel was created as a result of rampant world anti-Semitism. Israel was born from the ashes of the Holocaust, a safe haven for Jews to gain sovereignty after 2,000 years of marginalization and oppression wherever they lived in the diaspora. Israel's Declaration of Independence says nothing about hatred for the Arab, the Muslim, or the Palestinian, and actually states its support for complete equality of social and political rights to all inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. That's a quote. Sadly, in past decades, the thrust for peace and two-state solution have been cast aside. The great vision as articulated by Israel's founders is far from realized due to a combination of factors. It's never simple, and there's never one reason. The combination of factors including increased aggressions from Hamas and Hezbollah, proxies of Iran, and intentional roadblocks to peace erected by Israel's leaders who are really not interested in peace. Not least of which is Israel's unfolding reckoning at the displacement of Palestinians from their homes during the War of Independence. Add to the mix a trauma-inducing tragedy of epic proportions, the wanton rape and slaughter of 1,200 Israelis and workers by Hamas. As a result, Israelis have turned inward, focusing on their own healing and the return of the 133 hostages, whether they are dead or alive. We only need to think about a tragedy like that, God forbid, happening in our own family, and how hard it would be to think about anything else but our own healing and the healing of our family. It is not apathy, but it is intense focus on healing a nation. Of course, there are Israelis who are traumatized all over again to know just how many Gazans, many women and children who have been killed in response to October 7th. Of course, the great majority of Israel's citizens do not want any more war and bloodshed. As Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, may his memory be a blessing, said, no more war and bloodshed. I lived in Israel for 2 years. I have family and friends who reside there. I have never heard of aims towards genocide in all of my time there and all the people I've met. 20% of Israeli citizenry, that's 2 million people, identify as Palestinian Arabs, both Muslim and Christian. They are Israeli Arabs. They carry identity cards. They are citizens of the country. Chief among Israelis is to live in safety and peace. But as long as Hamas represents Palestinian Gazans, there will be no peace, because Hamas has clearly pledged to eliminate Jews from the river to the sea. Friends, I am one of the biggest peaceniks you will find. I am a conciliator. I am someone who bends over backwards to understand. But we should not trust a people who have explicitly indicated that they want us gone. There is no room for interpretation. And as long as they're in charge, there's no way to peace. And that is a sad reality of the situation. And there are people, there are moderate Palestinians who are looking for a two-state solution. And sadly, they have been pushed away too by our own Israeli government. It is a fraught situation, to say the least. And I return to this midrash, the parable that asserts that any suffering of any people should not be celebrated. In the world as it should be, the journey through the desert across a sea of reeds and onto the promised land should be a shared journey. The waters that we traverse should be saving waters, redemptive waters. In our Torah, waters are portrayed as a saving part of our faith. Moses was saved on the waters, so was Noah. The water well was a place where our forebears met and mingled and learned from one another. Water can be transformative. And yes, waters can be destructive, a place of doom and pain that is carried on through generational trauma, like the Middle Passage. But we can be the challenge. We can be the change we wish to see. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. liked to use the quote, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." This is only true if we leverage our power and pain to personally bend the arc ourselves. We should begin this process with being careful with our words. Wouldn't it be something if we transformed the phrase "from the river to the sea" for good? From the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, Jews and Palestinians living peacefully alongside one another from the river to the sea. Instead of a phrase of exclusion, it could be one of inclusion, where the life of a neighbor, one from a different tribe or race and faith, was as precious as the life of the person closest to us. From the river to the sea. Could you imagine transforming that phrase from something so destructive to something redemptive? A message that between the waters is where salvation lies. The dry land in between, inhabited by the peaceful, by the trustful, and we can lay down our arms down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. This is the dream. This is the work. Part of that work we're putting into practice now, today, through the vision of our member, Donna Weinberger, who's here today. We and 4 other congregations I mentioned earlier have started the interfaith group against hate. I'm going to tell you right now, the people in this group, the Muslims, the Jews, the Christians, we don't always agree on everything, on all kinds of politics, on the world stage. But we all agree that anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, xenophobia, white nationalism has no place in this country. It's going to be hard to fix all the world's problems, but we're going to work locally to band together, to stay together, even in these fraught times. There will be more to learn about our interfaith group against hate. But in the meantime, if it's something you'd be interested in being a part of, you can contact me or Donna. Also, our core team leader, David Beagle, who'd be happy to share more about this alliance. 5 congregations foundationally that are now opening up to other congregations to continue to diversify our network. If you know of a congregation that might be interested, please let us know. This is the work of bending the arc towards justice. Amen. We continue now with Aleinu L'Shabeach, bottom of page 282. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, l'teit gedula liyotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kagayei haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, anachnu horim u'mishtahavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlavim HaKadosh Baruch.
You may be seated. We now continue on page 290. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream to be an ode to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. We take this time now when we remember those in our community who have died in the last 30 days in the period of Shiva and Shloshim. We remember James Deal, Dr. Michael Foreman, Dr. Fred Glick, Mohammed Hussein Imam, Dr. Sheldon Kamen, Jerome Zellman, Francis Marblestone, Erwin Edelman, Marilyn Finkel, Arthur Kaplansky, Robert Moak, Gordon Safran. And we remember those who died at this season in years past in the period of Yahrzeit. We remember Bennett Adler, Jerome Adlin, Leo Baum, Bertha Beekman, Lottie R. Berman, Charles Bernstein, Betty Eichler Bloom, Ida Brown, Anna Cohen, Clarence Dettelbach, Bernard Demick, Rudolph Deutsch, Eugene Dubik, Esther Epstein, Louis G. Fetterman, Charles R. Feldman, Marvin Fellman, Isidore Fred Freiberger, Harry E. Frisch, Milton M. Gilbert, Geraldine S. Ginsburg, Alex H. Goldberger, Alvin Raymond Goldstein, Edwin Earl Green, Henry Greenfeld, Yale B. Gressel, D. Gross, Marvin Gross, Milton M. Halley, Nathan Hamer, Sarah Shanfarber Hammer, Lottie Heiser, Fillmore Heiser, Clara Herman, Marvin Hockheiser, Minnie Glick Jacobs, Dr. Marie Caney, Nathan Cantor, Sidney Kaplan, Philip Kaplansky, Jenny Katz, Israel W. Cohn, Minnie Corman, Irving Lasky, Janet Lasky, Henry Lefkowitz, Norman H. Less, Louis Levy, Harry Levy, Dr. David Allen Margolin, Herbert S. Mendelson, Samuel Mendelson, Helen L. Miller, Milton Adler, Lena M. Nidus, Helena Strauss Newman, Louis Newman, Florence Nissenson, Albert B. Reet, Harold C. Reich, Manuel Reinthal, Hirsch Herman Reese, Carol Resnick, Sanford H. Rose, Sam Rosen, Leona Rosenberg, Ada Rothstein, Dr. A. Ashley Russick, Arlene Chattel, Myra Shermer, Yetta Schwartz, David M. Say, Sidney H. Silber, Charles Stein, Nina Lehman Stone, Rosa Stern, Lena M. Trow, Harry Trotner, Rima F. Ullman, Dr. Eugene Wayner, Dorothy Lee Wallach, Belle S. Wang, Martha Wool Wyman, Sidney P. Zitkin. To this list, we add the names of the 6 million who perished in the Shoah, those who died in the Holocaust. We say Kaddish for 1,200 souls who were attacked and killed on October 7th. We say Kaddish for all the innocents in Gaza who have died. And we say Kaddish for all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We invite those who are here today and who are able to rise at your seats if you are mourners. We'd like to recognize you in your grief. And we then invite our whole congregation to join with our mourners as we continue with the Kaddish praise, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'galau v'zman kari v'imru. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam alomei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudusha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru Yehei shalom araba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Oseh shalom b'mromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved, we say together. Amen. You may be seated. As we turn to the conclusion of our service, I'd like to once again thank our guests for coming tonight. It was such a treat from our Interfaith Group Against Hate, our folks from Fairmount Presbyterian, our folks from St. Dominic's Catholic Church. We appreciate you. We want to take this time and thank Celia Hollander Lewis for your wonderful companionship and opportunity to lead together. What a treat. A few things, if you have your handout, we'd like to mention that, of course, tomorrow morning is Torah study. As always, tomorrow morning will be led by Cantor Sarah Sager at 9:15 a.m. on Zoom. On Sunday, we will have a Passover Yizkor Memorial Service on Sunday, April 28th at 6:15. That will be in the Banda Chapel, led by Rabbi Mulbaum and Cantor Lappin. And on May 2nd at the Maltz Performing Arts Center, and May 5th at the Kent State University, Cantor Lappin will be performing with the Kent State Orchestra and choirs, incredible Ernest Bloch's monumental sacred service. More information is available if you get the e-blast. If you need more information, certainly call the office. And then starting on Wednesday, it actually says June 8th, but I think it's May 8th, we are going to be starting a retrospective of Fairmount Temple. As many of you know, if not all at this point, we are unifying with the folks at the Temple Tifereth Israel. We'll be unifying into a new entity called Congregation Mishkan, or Congregation Tabernacle of Light. And this congregation has a rich history that goes back to 1839. We will be taking a retrospective of our temple community, starting from that time, moving through all of our various iterations throughout the city, and then, of course, finishing here at Fairmount Temple through June. So there'll be, I think, an apt way of ritualizing, one of the ways of ritualizing our connection to our temple community, for sure. Following services, there are Pasidic treats. So Passover, authorized treats. So there's no challah. You can see the challah cover. It's a very thin. There's not a lot of heft here. There is a piece of matzah underneath. So we have a Pesach special oneg tonight. We're really grateful to Lindsay Marcus and Barbara Smith for making that oneg happen. So please feel free to take what you'd like. Our final song, we're going to do Kiddush and Motzi, and then our final song, right? Yeah, let's do Kiddush and Motzi. So we'll do the Kiddush first. We'll lift up the cup. You ready?
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
We say L'chaim. Blessing over the hearty matzah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Tastes like matzah. All right. We are going to conclude with a favorite from the Seder, Dayenu. This song means it would have been enough. It would have been enough, God, if you had taken us out of Egypt, but Dayenu. It would have been enough if you had given us the Torah, Dayenu. It would have been enough that you had given us Shabbat, Dayenu. And yet, the blessings were built upon. So we continue that together. Right in their handouts.
Ilu hotzi hotzianu, hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu.
Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Et Shabbat natan lanu et Torah dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et Shabbat natan lanu et Shabbat dayenu, 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 dayenu. Just you guys this time. Dayenu, dayenu, dayenu. Shabbat shalom. Chag sameach.